I'm Andrew, and welcome back to Custom Cards, where we teach you to make your own Magic the Gathering cards. Today we're starting a series about common slots. The last few episodes, we've been talking about how to start designing a full set of Magic cards. Chances are, you have some good designs at Rare and Mythic Rare, but no idea how to make the commons. Today we'll talk about what sorts of designs go at common, specifically white commons. To help with this, we're going to analyze categories of white commons that appear in the last 21 official standard large Magic sets, going back to Return to Ravnica. Let's start with creatures. About 64% of your white commons should be creatures. This includes actual creatures and spells whose primary purpose is to make creature tokens. Here's a rough guideline. Now, what abilities do you put on creatures? Vanilla creatures are easy because they don't have any abilities at all. WotC is moving away from including these in every set, but they still have a high presence. For keyword mechanics, white gets creatures with lifelink, vigilance, which can be actual vigilance, or an ability that makes it untap. First Strike, which could also be Double Strike, though that's unusual at common. Defender, some method of indestructibility, and Flying, which I divided into small flyers and large flyers. White also gets spells that produce more than one creature. Now, every color gets some form of removal. White has 5 types. A pacifism is an aura that prevents attacking and blocking, and sometimes other things. A verdict is an instant that destroys or damages a creature involved in combat. Conditional removal targets a specific subset of creature, such as a tapped creature or a creature with a certain power or toughness. Unconditional removal destroys or exiles any creature. Of these 4 types, white usually gets 2 to 3 at common in a single set, and it usually doesn't get both conditional and unconditional. The final type of removal is tapping. There are many ways white can tap a creature. It can tap once, attack to tap, or tap to tap. Aside from creatures, white can also remove artifacts and enchantments. If a card can do either, it's called a naturalize. If it can do one, I call it a half naturalize. White also occasionally gets what I call an anti-naturalize, where it can get an artifact or enchantment from the graveyard or library. Next up, white has a lot of buffs. Almost every set has a combat trick, which is a cheap instant that grants power, toughness, and/or abilities. Similarly are protection spells, which grant indestructible, prevent damage, or flicker. A charge is a common spell type that gives power and toughness to all your creatures. There's also usually a positive aura to buff your own creatures, and creatures that grant temporary stats or that gain power based on a condition. White also uses +1/+1 counters often, and sometimes untaps its creatures. Then there are some other miscellaneous categories. LifeGain can be its own spell, but is much more playable when tacked onto another card. SCRY is some soft card advantage for a color that has trouble with that. White can also exile cards from graveyards, which is generally more important in graveyard sets. A cantrip is any card that draws 1 card when you play it. Pokemon are cards that get better the more you have of them. Occasionally, white gets a cost reduction effect, or can block an additional creature. And finally, some white cards have abilities from different colors if they are gold or have an activated ability. Now, these are all things white can do, but it shouldn't do all of them in every set. Of the 21 sets we analyzed, none of them included everything from this list, so feel free to leave off stuff that doesn't fit. Try to include what you can, and give your cards a unique twist that plays into the themes and mechanics of the set. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and tell us in the comments about your favorite white common. We'll be back next Thursday to design our own white commons.